I'm glad we could run an interview with Salman Rushdie, the writer, after the Phil Donahue discussion. That's because Rushdie was targeted for death by Muslim extremists after his book, The Satanic Verses, was published. Rushdie has a new book out called Shalimar the Clown. I spoke with him a few days ago. I think what people want to know from you is your opinion on whether we can beat these Islamist fascists or not. I mean, you, of everyone in the world, have experienced their terror and their hatred.
Yeah.
Can these people be beaten?
Well, I think, the simple thing to answer is in this particular case, in the little microcosm of the Satanic Verses case, we did manage to face them down. They did back away in the end. It took 9 years of forcing them.
9 years?
9 years.
Well, was it exhaustion on their part? They just couldn't get you?
No, I think it was in the end self-interest. I think they understood, the Iranians, that if they ever wanted to get on terms with the rest of the world, they were going to have to stop trying to kill its citizens. So it just made me feel that yes, if you hold your ground, you can win. And I think the other thing that's interesting about Islamist radicalism is that yes, it does seem to be very appealing, doesn't it? And it seems to be burning through the Muslim world. But if you look at the countries where it has become most powerful, those are also the countries where it's most hated.
But Iran is an interesting country. I mean, put the fatwa out on you, they try to kill you, and then your whole life was like you had to, wherever you went, look over your shoulder, right?
Yeah,
bodyguards everywhere, security everywhere.
Yes.
How did you get through that?
Well, with difficulty. I mean, I have to say the bodyguards, the British police, were incredibly subtle and careful. I mean, they're very professional, but they're also very psychologically trained because they know it's hard for people to live like that,
Oh, the pressure must have been unbelievable.
It was bad. I wouldn't recommend it. But I think the thing that helped me a lot was feeling that one could fight back. And in the end, we had a long political campaign against those threats. And in the end, that with the help
They went away.
Well, with the help of the American government and the British government and the European governments, a lot of pressure. It actually was fixed at the United Nations here just about exactly 7 years ago.
But the Iranians haven't moderated their view toward you or anybody else. I mean, they might take a realpolitik, as they say, and we don't want to kill Rushdie because that's going to make us look, but they still want to kill the infidels. They're still harboring Al-Qaeda. They're still causing trouble, and they're still there, and it doesn't seem to be a solvable problem.
Well, I think, the long-term solution, there's two things. There's a military fight. I mean, you do, if there's people trying to blow up America, it's quite legitimate, I think, to go get them. But the long-term solution has to be from inside the Muslim world. It has to. If you look at what happened in Ireland, the reason the IRA was brought to the peace table was that its own constituency said enough.
Right.
And that's what it'll take. I mean, without that,
that's
it's
a long slog.
I'm afraid. So, my 26-year-old boy, he said to me the other day that he didn't expect to see an end to terrorism in his lifetime. I thought that was a very sad thing for him to say.
Do you believe that?
I think it's quite possible.
That is really depressing. In your novel, Shalimar the Clown, you're trying to get inside the mind of these Muslim killers.
Yeah, because you see, what I wanted to say is that how does a man make that decision, to become a professional killer? Because I don't think that it's not that natural for a person to set aside all questions of ethics, etc. You have to change something in your head. And what happens to the character in my novel, who actually starts out being quite an innocent young man, is he's gradually drawn down this path of violence and goes through a process of what the communist Chinese used to call re-education in the Maoist period, where essentially you're taught that your entire picture of the world, everything you think about everything, is wrong. And you have to set aside all of that, and here is a new picture of the world for you, which is the true picture of the world. And once you live inside that picture, you begin to see that it's possible, and acceptable indeed, to go out and commit acts of violence in the service of that new idea.
And that's what you explore in the book.
Yeah.
And next, we will wrap things up with the most ridiculous